Hey everybody, it's Doug Schauf with the Make Maine Your Home team over at Remax Oceanside. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about new home checklist after closing. So you've purchased your home, now what do? Here's a few things that's going to help out. So let's do this. All right, everybody, like I said, we're going to give you a few things to help out, like after your closing, you purchased a home, congratulations. Now, just a few tips that we're going to give you just to kind of make sure that you're, taking care of a few things. First thing, most everybody, the first thing they talk about is they're going to clean and paint the house. There's probably a couple projects that I maybe recommend always, like before you do move in, because it's easier when it's empty. Painting is one of them because it's easy just to get in there, slap paint around, clean it up, off you go. If you're going to hire a cleaning service to clean it up, it's great to get them in there while it's vacant just to kind of do all that stuff. The other thing that I recommend doing is any kind of flooring. If you're going to do any flooring, I recommend doing that before you actually move in, of course after you own it, but before you move in, just because once all your stuff is in there, doing flooring is kind of a pain in the butt. So I highly recommend that. So cleaning, paint, and any kind of flooring. Let's see, service and clean any like HVAC units, depending on how like the inspection went and all that stuff. If this was already completed, great. If not, I always recommend making sure that stuff's cleaned out. Just kind of getting all the previous owner's stuff out of there. Anything that might be in there, it's always good to just clean it out. Next thing we got here is change all the locks. Who knows what the previous owner, who they gave keys to, and who knows if they ever changed the locks. So who knows what's going on there. Go get some lock sets at a hardware store and change all the locks. If there's any kind of security codes or keypads or anything like that, like garage door keypads, change all that stuff. That way, all that's taken care of right away. Test any smoke detectors. Again, your inspector may have done this. It's always good to check them again because, of course, between the inspector doing this and moving in there, especially if some smoke detectors were old, making sure that none of them actually died. And if they did, change out the batteries, maybe go get new ones, things like that. So check all those. You don't want to have a fire and have any kind of danger in there and be like, oh, shoot, I should have checked that. Double check all your smoke detectors and all that. I mentioned inspection a couple times, and I always like to say your inspection report, turn that into like your to-do list to get everything done. Make sure you kind of go through there. Like the inspectors that we use, Pillar to Post is one here. Give a shout out to them. They do a good report, and they always give like a list of stuff that were flagged in the inspection. I always say you can use that as like a to-do list. At least, look at that and make a list on what you feel should be done right away or maybe plan for in the future. Some things you don't necessarily have to do right away, but there might be some things on that list that are like, hey, I should get this done. So definitely make sure that you check that. Next thing is any like documents that you have from the closing, anything at all, the paperwork, make sure you put that in like an own special file, file it away, make sure it's in a safe place, get that situated. Next thing, change your address, for the post office, make sure your change of address is in order. If you're doing any kind of forwarding or anything like that, make sure all that's in place and get your change of address situated. Next thing, update your driver's license. Don't forget to do that. I remember years ago, I went like 2 years without changing that and almost got in trouble for it. So make sure that you do that. Update your driver's license as soon as you can. This is a great tip here. Research any tax deduction, property tax deductions or discounts. Call your town, find out when, how, and all that, and what to do, all that kind of stuff regarding any kind of potential property tax deductions. The most common is there's a homestead deduction that you could take advantage of. If you're a veteran, you could take that. If you got a disability, you can use that as a deduction. Call them, find out what all your options are. A lot of them you can't utilize right away. Usually there's like you got to live in the house for however long, but at least you can find out about it, get yourself educated, put it in your calendar to remind you to do things at certain times, and make sure you take advantage of that because that could be a huge savings for you. And then last but not least, you moved into the house, all that kind of stuff. Go out and meet your neighbors. Say hi to everybody. Most of them hopefully already welcomed you to the neighborhood, but if you plan on living somewhere for a long time, you might as well get started meeting everybody around you and enjoy the neighborhood that you're in. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful. Congrats on purchasing a home. Make sure you follow these tips and you'll have a great long-term relationship with that home. All right, so leave any comments that you might have or any questions. And remember, if you make Maine your home, you don't have to do it alone.